Oh, wait, what?
And
Oh, wait,
welcome back.
Oh, no.
Are we good?
Yes, go.
Are we?
no.
Welcome, everyone. We are back for the last game here of the night at Overdrive League. I am Primus, joined by a couple other people who will introduce themselves here in a moment. But our stream game here for you guys is the Red Tide taking on Royal Wolves. Took me a second. I had to remember. I'm forgetful. It's okay. But alongside me, we have my co-casters. Introduce yourselves.
Hello.
Hello. His name is apparently Hello. He doesn't actually have a name. His just Hello.
So my name is Phil, and not over there Blitz. Yeah, that's Blitz over there, the one that was laughing, and I'm Phil. So we're gonna be here looking at this game. Royal Wolves is back in the split they played last season. I think the 4 out of 5 members from last split, Promises, Bliss, Spike, and Steve, all on the same roster. We saw them last split on Royal Wolves as well. Bliss was on a different team, but Royal Wolves were the victors of last split. So looks like Steve and his team are looking to kind of take home the gold again by starting this season off strong.
All right, I'd like to make a quick note. I saw Promises, and I, for some reason, thought that his name said penises. So this is gonna be great.
I mean, okay, so Royal Wolves not starting out too strong on the split. The 1-1 currently right now, and also, if you do not notice, Red Tides lose 2 bans for using an E-sub. That is going to be shown here, but otherwise, bans are going to be kind of typical. Owen and Mundo off the table. 2 very strong top laners, though Irelia is still on the table.
What?
Yeah, nothing too unexpected in terms of bans. Things like Aurelia, Singe. Don't know how I feel about the first pick, Shen. Kais is on the table, Lucian's on the table. Things like Zoe in the mid lane are on the table, Xin Zhao. There's a lot of picks on the table here, considering the fact that the Red Tide only got 1 ban here, and there's that aforementioned Lucian.
Yeah, Lucian's a very strong laner right now, even though there are some other 80 carries still on the table. Kaisa and Israel come to mind, but that Shen being a pretty high priority today. We've seen it already once in earlier today in our second game of today, but now being picked up by Demon Jack. So,
Yo, is that a Nocturne pick?
it looks.
It can only go better than Math.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, it looks like Henny and Ho is taking his best Maths impression, gonna be choosing that Nocturne, but actually showing Maths how to play the champion. So, giving a little bit of respect to the last game we just saw.
Yeah, I do like the Lulu pick here coming in to either buff up the Nocturne or potentially buff up the Kaisa or the other 80 or whoever they decide to put in the bottom bot carry position here. I like Lucian Braun, pretty much a bot lane as old as time in terms of League of Legends experience. Been pretty much strong ever since Braum got released. Swain's an interesting pick because we haven't been seeing a lot of him. He's kind of fallen down in terms of priority list, in terms of mid lane and top lane, but he's still quite a strong champion.
Yeah, definitely. As we're reaching the second ban phase, I do think Royal Wolves are going to be banning one of the Kaisa that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Probably going to be banning out maybe Israel, another 80 carry since the support is already picked. Or they could try to change it up a little bit, go towards blue it, looking for those mid lane bans, but Swain is already locked in, so Blue Dead already has the counter pick, so.
Unless it ends up being a Lulu mid, which has been something we've been seeing rising to priority, but given the Zoe ban, it looks like they're expecting that to be a top lane Swain.
Yeah. I've seen Spike play Swain top a few times. He's pretty good at it, but otherwise, I don't know too much about Phantasma, but he might be playing the Swain too, so it is a flex pick for Royal Wolves. Otherwise, they wouldn't be banning out these mid laners. Looks like Blue Dit is also pretty good at the Lux, as that's taken away from him.
Yeah, Lux is one of those things where, like, you can always make the argument that you can play her regardless at any state of the minute, just because of the amount of utility within her kit, the amount of burst potential she has available to her, kind of makes her always at least a semi-decent pick to look at here. But we still have a couple picks here. I would expect to see a jungler pick coming in from the side of Royal Wolves. That way they can hide their flex pick of the Swain to the end here. And it looks like they're going to go with just that, locking in the Trundle here more than likely.
Yeah, Trundle's a very strong pick, though Graves is... Okay, never mind. They're going to lock in the Trundle, but it is going to be very strong for that Nocturne. I mean, I don't think Nocturne can duel the Trundle very early, though, with I think it's Lethal Tempo being taken on Nocturne. The dueling potential might be in favor of Nocturne. I haven't seen this matchup too much, so we'll have to see how both junglers play out. Otherwise, we are going to see the AD carry being picked up for Red Tide right here. It's going to be the Jinx, who's been rising in popularity, especially with the Lulu buffing the Jinx. With Lethal Tempo being taken on Jinx, it's going to be very strong.
Yeah, Jinx is a champion that can provide a lot of damage in the late game. They've got a lot of protection for her as well with the Lulu, but the biggest concern that I have is if they can actually survive the laning phase into a Lucian Braum and potentially a Galio in the mid lane for Phantasma. That's going to be a lot of party in the bot lane, and Jinx is not renowned for her mobility.
Yeah, definitely. She might be getting caught out with all that CC, Trundle, Pillar, Swain, Never Move, and even Galio's entire face. So, otherwise, this Arctic Shot's going to have a pretty unfortunate time trying to weave her way around these team fights, but it is very strong. Especially, she is a very good tank killer, being able to outrun them once she starts getting the resets, get excited, but might have a little bit of trouble against this lane Lucian Bomb, very strong and very all in, kind of just burst damage.
It looks like that they're I think it's Royal's yeah, it's Royal Wolf, sorry. It looks like they're going for a much more team fight based build rather than catching out and skirmishing. Just judging from their picks though, especially running Galio and Lucian. Just trying to kind of corral the opponents into one little spot and just blast them.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely. I mean, you can look at all the AoE, Swain, Galio, really being able to do a lot of damage, but still being able to tank a lot of it. Trundle being able to sap the stats coming out from mainly Demon Jack and maybe even Nocturne for an extension. But as these kind of summon souls all locked in, we do see some interesting adaptations from either side. Phantasma taking the cleanse, Bludet taking the barrier, and Ignite versus Exhaust in the support bot lane. So very aggressive on some sides while very kind of defensive, which is really interesting to watch.
I would slightly disagree with you. This team does have a lot of collapse potential with the Galio in the mid lane, so it's not like they can't necessarily skirmish, but it is much more team fight centric. My only real concern is they don't really have a true setup for the Galio ultimate coming in from their team. Like, you don't really have that big setup initiation like the infamous Jarvan Galio combo, the Camille Galio combo. Like, you don't really have that same level of setup potential coming in from the side of Royal Wolves that you traditionally see when you draft the Galio in the mid lane.
Yeah, and I actually do think it's more defensive, especially when you think of the comp on the other side of Red Tide. Nocturne already trying to dive in. Galio is more of a preventive measure, trying to keep his carriers alive, the Swain and the Lucian, being able to give them invulnerabilities. And even Bliss, if you count that, if Bliss is running in with the Pillar and Frozen Domain, right, he can slow them while Phantasma just ults him and then just get the ulti off with the Trundle's Pillar. Especially if you're fighting in the jungle, right, in the small place where the Pillar can cut off exits, it's actually not that bad. But I can kind of see where you're coming from, where there's no reliable CC, nothing to kind of trap the players. But it is kind of the creativity coming out from Royal Wolves as a whole and just Phantasma's ults.
And I mean, you do have the Braum initiation, so you do still have some AoE setup. Like the Braum can leap forward onto the Trundle, go in with the Glacial Fissure. So there is still some semblance of a setup potential coming in, using that to set up plays coming in. So it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility here, but I think looking at the two compositions on paper, I have to favor Royal Wolves just because I don't think Jinx is going to be given the necessarily time in order to scale.
I'd like to note that Red Tide, they've got actually some pretty strong global pressure with running Shen and Nocturne. Nocturne is able to effectively gank from quite a ways across the map using his ult and cause just all sorts of havoc, usually on Lucian, is what I'd assume. And Shen is able to stop any burst damage coming to Jinx, if that can even happen. Or
Yeah.
even Ahri.
Yeah, and that is a pretty infamous combo, the Paranoia plus Stand United. While the Paranoia is going through, you proc Stand United, you just dive in with 2 members, and very strong combo, definitely one of those things where you can't see it coming, literally. But, I mean, that's probably what we're going to be looking at. Maybe even they might be looking to go towards Phantasma in the mid lane. Galio is more of a mage, magic resist mage, instead of an armor, so especially with Nocturne being more of an AD-focused champion, probably will die very quickly.
I mean, he did take the cleanse.
Yeah.
Does have Aftershock as his rune of choice, so he's still going to be fairly tanky in that mid lane. Something we should note, though, is the Paranoia will inhibit the ability for Phantasma and Spike to try to counter Collapse with their plays, because the Paranoia does inhibit the ability to use teleports or the hero's entrance in this case. So they do have a little bit of an advantage if they can play around that window of time, that 6 seconds of darkness coming in when Henny chooses to go in with that Paranoia. But I just think that the tempo advantage is just going to favor Royal Wolves here. I mean, yes, there is a lot of collapse and mobility potential on both teams' sides, but I just don't think the current status of the meta really favors a composition that Red Tide have drafted.
Yeah, and I would agree with you there. The fact that Royal Wolves comp seems a little bit more well-rounded. They have the damage, they have the tankiness, and they kind of have just the CC in general too. While Red Tide are kind of just focusing more on just being chaotic, kind of running everywhere. Nocturne diving in, Shen stand uniting on somebody. Jinx is just trying to get the resets, cleaning up after everyone has dived in. Very chaotic, but I mean, if the players of Red Tide are able to execute it correctly, or I mean, kind of have more mechanical skill by themselves, more kind of just self skill or individual skill, that's what I'm going for. They might be able to they might be able to get an advantage in this game, at least, especially with the legendary Cutie Pie on the team.
I highly doubt that is the real Cutie Pie. I think we need to talk to Michael Santana to confirm the fact that he is actually not a silver scrub like us monkeys here, pretending like we can cast League of Legends here.
It's just a support main Smurf.
I mean,
Cutie's got a pretty interesting brand, to say the least, so you never really know. But something that we do need to take note of is the right keystone choice coming in from Henny, rather than the last game they press the attack. We're seeing the lethal tempo coming in from Henny, which does fit a little bit more with the status quo in terms of the meta here. But looking at these two team compositions, I think the early tempo advantage has to go over the Royal Wolves.
I would say that depending on where you look, I think the top side of the map is in favor of Red Tides, because I actually do think that Ori and Shen can do much more than Swain Galio in the early game, because Galio doesn't become very tanky in the early game. He doesn't do too much damage. He has okay base damages, but when he's taking the aftershock, it is kind of gone. And especially if you factor in that the fact that Nocturne can actually dual Trundle if he is able to get out of the Frozen Domain. Frozen Domain gives Trundle the movement speed and the attack speed, but without that, Nocturne has the lethal tempo for him to be able to at least fight Trundle. It kind of depends on what camps they're taking and how healthy they are at the end of the clear, but I will agree that Royal Wolves on the bottom side of the map, Lucian Bomb should be able to do very well in this lane, though they did take exhaust, so they wouldn't have as much kill pressure. But in the top side, Red Tide's all pretty well off. Though I kind of do wish we would see Ori with Ignite, which would be a little bit more lane pressure, but it's not too bad because that's just how it works with kind of base damages, especially with like Shen having the immense amount of base damages in the early game. But so we're gonna see the pause go through. We're done with the pause, and nothing else is gonna happen. But I think we're gonna be seeing some squatting happening here with a 5-man on both sides. Actually, Red Tide are gonna be looking to split up, while Royal Wolves are looking to stay as a pack.
Hello.
I'm gonna assume that they're looking to either Fnatic death push them
Uh-oh.
or just show up and kill somebody, which wouldn't actually be bad.
We might. Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're gonna see this little bit of a trade coming down in the bottom side of the map. You can never underestimate the power of the bomb. Level 1, and there's first blood going over to Bliss, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles early on.
That is such a good start off for Royal Wolves, though, because when they now that
Oh, some cheese
now
is
that
happening.
Bliss has that early lead. Oh no, not
Oh
yet.
no. Ooh, Spike's gonna eat a lot of damage coming in here. However, Phantasma and Steve are here. They aren't gonna go for the flash Q play, but Spike's gonna be down a health pot in that top lane. He should still have tempo priority due to the fact that it is a ranged champion and doing melee. But the fact that the Trundle is starting the game with an extra longsword might inhibit that early dueling potential that you mentioned about the Nocturne.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that dueling potential is gone now, but otherwise, the fact that Jinx has no flash is very important because Bliss is now able to gank bot lane on an immobile carry without flash, and that's very juicy.
Yeah, it does put a big old target on his back here to try to make some plays out in the early game. It's going to be interesting to see how these junglers will choose to path early on, especially considering neither really has real heavy gank presence.
Oh, we might actually see some action already in the jungle here as Henny and Hose is taking the red buff right now of Bliss.
Yeah, they're trying to sneak this steal as it looks like Bliss is just going to prioritize the Scuttle Crab. Might end up giving away his red buff. But early on, the Scuttle Crab has about the same XP as the buff, so he's not going to be terribly far behind. It's just not having that red buff will really inhibit his ability to actually try to trade in any of these fights at the top lane.
Uh-oh. The mid lane is the action.
Mid lane looks like action.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's everyone in the mid lane, but Bliss is level 3. We're going to see the taunt landing onto Henny, and Henny just donates that stolen red buff back to Bliss.
That was one of those moments where you're just sneaking past the guy. Where is this guy? And he's actually on the other side of the river, and you guys just passed each other. But
in the end, Bliss actually won the trade by dropping his red buff to Henny and Hose because he got basically the same amount of XP, still got the red buff, and he now has river control in the top side. So he's gotten some nice power by Bliss.
Blue did.
And I mean, the other thing about Trundle in the early game, you also have to remember his Chomp steals AD.
Yeah.
So you can never underestimate a duel against a Trundle just because that Chomp does always have that X factor in a trade. So Bliss is off to a very, very strong start. He's probably going to look to back and set up that T-Mat. Ends up stealing Henny's red buff, and it looks like we're going to see a 3v3 down in this bottom lane. But Henny and Hose is pigeonholed between a pillar in a hard place, and unfortunately, that means he doesn't have anywhere to go. Arctic Shock and Cutie Pie are going to be able to get out, but Henny's really not having a fun time. Blue's going to eat a fair bit of damage in the mid lane, more trading in the top lane, but no real advantage coming in there.
Yeah, Honey and Hose is having a very unfortunate time right now. Tries to have a good early game and then ends up going 0-2 4 minutes in, which is very bad for him. And this is just a matter of the fact that he had made a slight miscalculation on his part. In the mid lane, that fight, he was actually only level 2 versus Bliss's level 3, and that's actually what caused. If he had the fear there, and of course to an extension if Blue landed the Chomp, that would have been much better, but a gank in the bot lane.
Pillar is going to land onto Aftershock. Exhaust does come in. They are going to proc their concussive blows. Not quite enough damage, but the last auto coming in from Bliss, but they do get the trade kill back onto Steve the Wolf. Bliss eating so much damage. On more auto from Henny is going to get the return kill. However, then forward coming in for Promises, securing another kill back. Polymorph coming in onto Promises, but unfortunately there's just not enough damage as it's a double kill in the end over to Promises.
Well, I've seen I've seen enough games that Promises has played in to know where this is going. But Promise is a very good player. He's mostly a mid lane player, though he's playing AD carry on this team. But he is a very mechanical player, being able to like play matchups very well. And now that he's 3-0 with double buffs, I don't know if we'll see the kind of power spike that Jinx has, the IE, Runans, and maybe another item. I don't think we'll see that.
No, and that's actually not the typical build that we're seeing on Jinx, from my understanding. Is I generally see Jinxes rushing the Stormrazor, then go into Hurricane, and then go into Infinity Edge. Yeah. But I don't know if she'll have the timing window, because that's like a 9,000 gold build.
Yeah.
So you're looking at approximately 25-30 minutes, barring a lot of kills going over, and especially considering she's down 17 CS at this point in the game, it's not looking the greatest for the side of Red Tide. They're already down about 3,000 gold at the 6-minute mark.
And most of that's not even just a 4 kills that they picked up. It's just a differential in farm. It's 20 CS in the bot lane, 20 CS in the top lane, and just a whole lot of gold in the jungle with all those kills going over to Bliss. So, ooh, not looking good already. It is going to be a Cloud Drake very early in this game, but you already see how much damage a red buff Lucian with Cutlass is doing to this to Ultic and PewDiePie. So
that amount of damage is considered illegal in some countries.
Oh, man. Imagine if he had Conqueror, though.
I'm not a fan of Conqueror on Rage Champions unless it's Draven.
I like Conqueror on Lucian due to the fact that you're hitting multiple targets at once, and plus the attack only allows you to hit one target. It does give you better laning phase, but later in the game...
We are going to see a potential dive being set up here. They're needing to get this wave shoved because Bliss and Phantasma are here. There are pinks coming out, but I think it's just a little too late. You have Flash is available for Arctic.
Stay.
But
the staying.
I don't know why they are still here. Pyro's going to cut off Aftershock from PewDiePie, and Aftershock's just going to get bursted down. A kill going over to Phantasma, deciding he wants joined on the kill party. This should be first tower falling in the bottom lane at 7 minutes and 40 seconds coming in for the side of Royal Wolves.
Yeah, and Royal Wolves are just going to extend the gold lead. A little bit of a mishap there by the Hero's Entrance, but Bliss ultimately going to... Actually, I don't even think it was Bliss, but... Yeah, they made a good rotate down, though Phantasma does sacrifice a little bit of farm. They get first hurt, dragon, and a kill. I mean, that's a worth trade in my book. 4k gold ahead now.
Yeah, it's... Go ahead.
So right now what Bliss is actually trying to do is actually really good, because they already know that top lane is going to win, like no matter what, just by the CS lead. So they're snowballing bot lane and mid lane, because jungle's basically already won. So what they're trying to do is take the lead that Bliss got in the jungle and just push it so far ahead that Red Tide can't do anything about it.
And to be honest, it might already be that point. It's almost 9 minutes into the game. Henny is still not level 6. Not having that paranoia available is really inhibiting his ability to try to make any plays on the map. The one bright spot right now for the side of Red Tide is they do have a fairly large CS lead in the mid lane with Blue due to that roam coming in from Phantasma, but they really need to try to take that advantage and try to get one of these side lanes back into the game.
I don't think the lead that Bludit has is going to mean too much, because like Oi is an assassin, and you really can't assassinate anybody when the Lucian can 1v1 you, and basically when everybody on the enemy team are very strong, and they have the defensive measures such as the Hero's Entrance and the bomb. So this lead that Bludit has probably means little to nothing, especially like an Oi that's behind, in respective to the enemy team, of course, doesn't do much. It's very hard to do things, especially when she doesn't have Ignite and does not have Electrocute, which is helpful for assassinations.
I was trying to provide some semblance of positivity for Red Tide, and then you just threw it into the garbage.
Well, good news for Red Tides, they're getting dived. Oh wait.
Demon Jack is all by himself, does get a nice 2-man taunt, is gonna buy a tiny bit of time. Bliss is eating a lot of tower shots, is gonna be able to get out though. Paranoia is getting going in on the bottom side of the map, but just doesn't matter. Promise is too strong on this Lucian. It's just going to end up being a triple kill more than likely for him. Nope, Steve ends up securing one of the kills. Flash forward, one more auto coming in. Promise is securing the kill. Blue Edit has roamed down, but it's just too little too late.
So, Red Tide got literally nothing off of that trade, and they lost 4 people. So,
Yeah.
that doesn't explain this game right now. I don't know what does.
Yeah, this game is looking to be very bad in favor of Red Tide, and to put it simply, the only hope that Red Tide has is Arctic Shock. If Arctic Shock is able to make at least 2 items, if he's able to farm for maybe 10 more minutes safely, and not follow Henny and Hose, because they were farming pretty well in the bot lane, though they were taking a little bit of poke damage, until Honey and Hose shows up. He tried to force something on the bot lane that was very strong, and ended up getting punished for it. And
I mean, it's more than 10 minutes. It's like 15 minutes of farming, and Arctic Shock's just dead.
no,
Never mind. Good guy support. Cute.
It's good guy cutie.
Good guy cutie is deciding that the shock from Arctic should continue for just a little bit longer here, as he is going to be able to just stay in this bottom lane, try to secure some CS under tower. And Henny and Hose is a little bit out of position. Charmed his lane onto Bliss. He is a little squishy. Fear is going to buy a little bit of time, but Steve the Wolf and Promises have rotated over Blue. Headed, not enough damage. Stand United is going to come in as well as Heroes entrance, but there's just not enough damage. Rocket coming in, getting shut down onto Promises. Arctic Shock is excited, is not able to get in range, gets another reset, does have the red buff available. Can he get the charm? Slow does come in Bliss with a little bit of BM, but that helps a lot because that gets Arctic Shock slightly back into the game.
Yeah, he got the shutdown gold on Lucian, 650 gold, plus probably a turret in this mid lane. Not looking too bad. Actually, does not even have enough gold to buy Stormblades, unfortunately, but will be able to buy a few things to help him get back into the lead.
Oh, jeez. This is just, oh no. This whole thing is a mess right now.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean,
definitely
it's
the play that Red Tide has been looking for the past 12 minutes. So, here's another one.
Yeah, we are going to have a little bit of engagement. Cutie Pie just gets blown off the face of the map by Promises.
Like always.
I mean, he has lost like 600 LP in like a week and a half, so...
Oh no, we don't bring up bad memories.
Too late. As Spike gets a kill onto Henny, we're going to see this mid lane tier 2 fall here in just a moment once Shelly decides she wants to ram that big old head into that tower. That's going to be another tower falling. Bliss is going to walk out of the chompers. They're trying to defend this tower, but there's just too much damage. Promises is going to dash forward. Cutlass, and that's just a dead Jinx here. We're going to see the flash shot coming in from Phantasma. So much damage coming in. Paranoia is going to come in, but it just doesn't matter. He's going to go in. Is going to not secure the kill onto Promises. He just goes in and dies. And unfortunately, the only thing Red Tide has seen this game is a gray screen. It's not even a red shift. It's just a gray screen.
This might be one of the fastest games we've seen so far. Last game was 23 minutes long. This 14 minutes and breaking the base of Red Tide, looking for the Nexus.
Yeah, the Demon Jack is doing a fair bit of damage. Ignite is on the Spike. So much damage coming in though with the Nova Flare coming in from Spike. Dash coming in, not quite enough damage going on to Demon Jack. Fear is going to land onto Promises. Promises is going to die to the comeback on the Orbit Deception. Spike trying to get out. Charm Dismiss is going to get chased down eventually here, I think. Nope, they are going to abandon the chase, and I just think this game hits 20 minutes. It's a miracle.
Abandon ship, abandon the Red Tide.
All right, I feel like we've hit a point where this game has been lost quite a while ago.
Hey, I mean, they were looking okay with that one fight, and then kind of got swept up by the own Tide.
That has to be the weirdest use of stopwatch I've ever seen.
I think they're secure in their position, whether positive or negative, at the status of this game here. We're going to see another Drake going over to the side of Royal Wolves, which is the blue buff going over to Phantasma. And it's just a matter of time here before the end of the game ends up coming in here. And it's just been not the greatest of performances coming in from the side of the Red Tide. To say the least.
Well, on the good news, Arctic Shock almost has completed his first item.
He is about 400 gold from completing it, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think it's about 1,000 gold in the combined cost.
Well, he's almost completed the first item to Promises too, which is good news, kind of.
Promises is a long way from his third item, so. But he has his red buff, he has his Essence Reaver, he has his Blade of the Rune King. They're going to escort the super minions into the base, try to set up the next-ish push already. I think it would be a little bit better if they just went for bottom lane. We are going to have the paranoia for Henny and O's to get back out of position. 79 coming in. Nice Glacial Fisher. So much damage going in onto Blue Head and I'm a Cutie Pie. They're just able to survive. No, Protos is going in with the flash runs. Securing the kill on the backside. So much damage. Artifox is the only one alive, not able to secure kill onto Promises. And this is going to be the end of the game at about 17 minutes coming in for the side of Royal Wolves. And Red Tide is out like high tide in the middle of the day or something. I don't know. I've had jokes.
Wolves go for the jugular on an inanimate object and apparently succeed.
Well, that's just. It's like I'm casting Rampage again.
Oh my god.
That was interesting.
Games are fast. I rarely get to talk because all they're doing is fighting. Like, what is this?
All right, guys. Well, it looks like Red Tide and Out of Mana are looking for a new jungler. So if anybody wants to sign up, but yeah, both Out of Mana and Red Tide were looking for the Nocturne jungle, and unfortunately, we're not able to find success on those champions. And perhaps both these teams will have to go back to the drawing board. But for Royal Wolves, they will be continuing the kind of rampage to the top, trying to get back that the trophy that they won last season, and they're looking very well to do so.
I just want to quickly note, Promises almost did 1,000k damage a minute in a 16-minute game.
Yeah, he was doing lots of damage. I think 950. If I don't know, quick math.
He had 15k. He had like 15.5k in 16, just under 17 minutes. So pretty close to about 1k damage a minute. Unfortunately, though, everyone, that is our final game of the night here at Overdrive League. Please stay tuned as we are going to have more Overdrive League here action here. So, on Monday, I believe, is the next day.
Yeah, Monday will be our Plat League. It's taking place the same time, 7 p.m. Central Time. I think, the first game of the night will be BMOS Commandos versus Forsaken Dreams. Another game, two teams that we saw pretty well going off last week. So, with that being said, do you guys have any last things to say?
I like short games.
I agree.
I feel like I shouldn't have had jalapeno Pringles for this.
Yeah, totally take his advice too. Never have jalapeno
just
Pringles.
Try to not have like a jalapeno flavored thing or like anything hot while trying to cast, because it is not worth it.
Oh my god. Otherwise, on behalf of all of the Overdrive staff, we thank you for tuning in on the cast and apologize for the problems that arose today. Otherwise, for us, that will be it.